What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction, and in this one we have reverse culture shocks, 5 American things I find weird after living in the Netherlands. Let's see what weird things we out here doing in the old US of A. Before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's dive right in.
Hi everyone, I'm Ava, and today I'm going to tell you about 5 American things that I now find weird after living in the Netherlands. I moved to the Netherlands sometime last year, and I visited the US back early March, right before the coronavirus crisis hit. And although that was kind of the main thing that I noticed, I also noticed the reverse culture shock that I was having during my trip. And this was when I was visiting my hometown of New York and also in Philadelphia, where I had lived for many years before moving to the Netherlands.
Let's do it.
Thing number one that was really surprising to me when I went back to the US was something that I noticed right at the airport. And those were how freaking tiny the public bathroom stalls are. So this is what an American public bathroom stall looks like.
Yes.
Now, if you are European, and especially if you're Dutch, you're probably noticing that there isn't a lot of privacy in these bathroom stalls. The doors are really, really tiny.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what I did when I went back to the US to use the bathroom. I walked into the public bathroom and I started looking underneath the stalls to see if anyone was using them. Because that is a really easy thing that you can do when there is so much space for you to kind of get into someone's business. And that's what I did. Also, I am not alone. This is what people do when they try and figure out whether a bathroom stall is free or not. Just because there's just so much room for you to go in and take a look. Sometimes you don't even need to bend down and trouble yourself. You could just look through the slits in the doors. They're wide enough for you to see what's going on in there. Also, forget about having some kind of quiet while you're trying to, very privately do your private things. The person next to you can hear everything. Really, everything. And I'm not just talking
everything.
About there's a lot of echo in the bathroom stalls. No, you can hear everything just because you could, if you wanted, you could throw things to the person next to you from underneath because there's so much space. If you're asking yourself, why is it like that in the US? Then I'm here to tell you that that's a really great question that nor I think very many normal people can have an answer to. It's just how things are. I bet it's one of those things that if I Googled, I would be able to find out.
Better air circulation, easier to clean.
Number 2.
Better air. I guess that would be better, easier to. I guess that does make sense. But still, before I started reacting to countries in Europe, I thought the world everywhere had bathroom stalls looked the same. It wasn't until I started reacting to European countries that I started to realize, we weird in America for our stall doors being that small to where there's such big gaps and there's no privacy. That's a weird thing. And I never thought about it because it was all I was used to. But that's how, you see, that's how we look to see if one of the stalls is occupied. You look under, you see feet, then it's occupied. You don't, you try to go open it. That's the way to do it. The slits are pretty decent to where you can see what's going down. You can hear absolutely everything. And you don't want to hear everything. You don't want to hear a lot of what you hear. So she's spot on. That is a reverse culture shock. I feel like anybody moving to any country in Europe will have coming back to America. It's just weird. We need more privacy in these stalls.
Was just how honestly gross and dirty everything was. I really have to mention here. I loved living in the US, and there are reasons to hate the US right now, but I really liked living there. I'm American. I don't hate where I'm from. But when I lived in the US, I really thought that certain neighborhoods in certain places were quite charming, had a certain type of beauty to them. And I'm talking about two places in particular. So New York and Philadelphia, especially Philadelphia. So Americans often think of Philadelphia as an ugly city. I never thought that. It's an old city, relatively old
A
city
lot
in
of
the US.
homeless in Philly.
And there's some cute townhouses. Or so I thought. When I went back in March, I was really, really surprised to find out that these really cute townhouses were all of a sudden they looked worn, old, and
Oh.
dilapidated to me.
Yeah, they
Because I'm
do.
just so used to how really well kept everything is in the
Wow.
Netherlands. So cities like
Yeah, that's
Amsterdam and
beautiful.
Utrecht are just so beautiful, and I think that's why you pay high taxes here, so that the government can maintain these buildings. And
That makes
people who
sense.
live in the buildings will pay lots of money to maintain them. But in the U.S., that's just not the case. Everything is just old looking in not a nice way. And I was really surprised because when I was in it, I didn't notice it as much. I had the same to say for the streets in the U.S. The streets were completely covered in litter. Okay, I've also lived in Mumbai for many years, so compared to that, it's not completely covered in litter. But okay, there's a lot of trash everywhere. It's dusty, and again, just the whole grungy, worn down look. Hey, grunge was cool in the 90s. This is 2020. Maybe we can do something about that. I don't know. I went back and I thought, well, I'm glad to be living in the Netherlands because I hate to admit this, but a little bit superficial. So I walked around and was like, this is not the city I thought I lived in. And of course, there are exceptions in the U.S. I also lived in Washington, D.C. for 2 years. And oh my God, can I tell you, D.C. is a wonderful, beautiful city. And people say that's because it's more European. So go figure. Another thing I will say in terms of how things look, I thought that the parks in the U.S. looked completely different from what I remembered, and especially when I compare it to the parks in the Netherlands. So I love going to a park in the Netherlands. I didn't do that as much back in the U.S. And the parks in the U.S. are not pretty. I was surprised at how not pretty they were because in my memory, I had fond memories of them. I thought they were beautiful. But yeah, they don't have the cute little ponds like you would in Utrecht and Wilhelmina Park, for instance.
I feel that.
Amsterdam.
I do feel that, yeah.
Vondelpark or Het Servati Park. So
that's true.
Yeah, it was something that I definitely noticed. Thing number...
I feel like the dirtiness and all that, I feel like, I mean, it's New York and Philly, though, like, it's just going to be a little bit more in those cities. But I feel like you said, Washington, D.C., there are many exceptions, like in the U.S. Hey, not everywhere is just dirty over here, you feel me? Like, there's a lot of clean places here. There's a lot of clean states here. It ain't all bad. But you got Philly, where Kensington, I believe, is a town with the most homeless people in the United States. Either Kensington or in San Francisco. I can't remember which one. And then you got New York, which is, New York. It's an overpopulated state, if you ask me. There's just too many people. But yeah, I've seen the park thing. Yeah, I haven't seen any parks as beautiful as the ones in the Netherlands. I do like U.S. parks because it's more of like, I guess you got your track where you can go for a run. You got your, which in the Netherlands you can go for a run almost anywhere throughout the city. So that's not a big difference. But you got your basketball courts. You got your tennis courts. You got your pickleball courts. You got so many like sports that you can play at the park. So many soccer fields and things as such, and I really do appreciate that because I love sports. But in terms of beauty, I think she's right. The Netherlands definitely wins that battle.
3 that was a total shock to me was the breakfast in the U.S. for 2 reasons. Reason number 1. Oh my God, the sugary snacks.
It's a lot.
I forgot that in the mornings, Americans like to eat lots and lots of cereal. And on occasion, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
I think those are the 2 main areas of
some you can grab quick
for American breakfasts. I don't understand who thought a Pop-Tart is a treat. It's candy. I don't understand how it became breakfast at some point.
You're not wrong.
People like to eat hagelslag for breakfast. There's chocolate sprinkles. But at the same time, there is a lot of yogurt and muesli, which is a healthier and grosser version of granola going on here in the Netherlands. So very
Oh,
health focused, and also some cheese and hagelslag, absolutely. But yeah, Pop Tarts and cereal, and oh my god, the cereal aisles. I totally forgot how obsessed we were with that. And
yeah.
oats in the U.S. I mean, we have these prepackaged oats that are supposed to be healthy. If you look at them, they're filled with sugar. So that was kind of really surprising to me because I had gotten used to a certain type of breakfast here in the Netherlands already.
I
And
got you.
the second thing about breakfast in the US is when I would go out to eat breakfast, of course, I was surprised by the large portions of
Of
food
course.
for brunch.
Of course.
I have a favorite brunch place in the US, like any American my age does, I'm assuming. So I went to my favorite brunch place in the US, and I was not able to finish my food. That has never happened to me. I love food. I love eating all my food
I
because
feel that.
I paid for it. And sure, you can take it home, but it's never going to be as good as it was when you got it at the brunch
Nah,
place.
it won't
So
be.
I ordered,
It won't be.
French toast,
Unfortunate.
eggs. It was impossible. The
Ooh.
plates are this big. No joke.
Oh my
Food
god,
piling
that
all over.
looks
So
so
I was
good.
totally surprised at how big they were in reality. In my memory, it was something that I could just finish in one sitting.
Mm-mm.
I let myself
You-
down. Couldn't finish it. Thing number 4.
Yeah, I think you probably could finish it back in her day, but once you went over to the Netherlands, it got used to a different sort of breakfast, smaller portion breakfast. Your stomach just gets used to smaller portions, and so it can't handle those big portions anymore. It doesn't. You get too full. But yeah, I love American breakfast. I do love cereal, certain days. I gotta be in the mood for cereal. America, yeah, with cereal, Pop Tarts and stuff, it's just like something you can grab quickly, get out the door, because it seems like Americans are always on the go. But when I sit and actually make breakfast, like some eggs, some toast, some sausage, and that's usually what I make, just like eggs, toast, and sausage, something simple. And if I'm going like big breakfast, I'll throw in some like hash browns and some pancakes or something. Uh, but yeah, I love my breakfast. I don't know. I could, I really did. In the large portions, I do appreciate them, but I mean, they are the reason America is obese as we are now. But I love large portions. I love taking food home. Although she's right, it will not be as good as when you first got it. It's like I spent all this money on this food, and now I can stretch it into 2 meals. It feels good.
Ooh, so this is worse in New York than in very many places in the U.S. And that is that people are so freaking grumpy.
Definitely in New York, for sure. It's going to be a lot
And
worse.
in New York, we are the grumpiest.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is also a pretty
Yeah.
grumpy city. This is like one of those things that you really notice in the airport, and more so when you leave as opposed to when you're coming in. But it's insecurity when you're going to an airport at JFK. This is like 100% of the time you will experience this if you're at an airport at JFK and you're in departures. If you're going through security, you know what they're going to do? They're going to be yelling at you about all the rules. They'll yell at you, take your shoes off. Why don't you take your shoes off? Ma'am, please take your shoes off. And honestly, I was so used to this that I didn't even notice when I would go with friends who were European and they would tell me, oh my god, this was terrible. Like, did you see how rude people were? And I was like, what? They're just doing their jobs.
Yeah.
That and all of this was before I had ever been to Schiphol Airport. Oh my gosh, Schiphol is just amazing. I was really surprised that people were happy. People were cracking jokes, and people were not upset when it took me a while to get my laptop out. They just took that as a chance to, make conversation with me. Hey, where are you from? Where are you going?
Oh, wow.
I didn't know what was going on. That was way too friendly for me.
That was way too friendly for me.
And this is not just airports. So in the U.S., you will experience this at like clothing stores. That was another place where I honestly had culture shock and then reverse culture shock. When I moved to the Netherlands, I was surprised that people would talk to you and were really friendly in clothing stores. In the U.S., it's either fake friendly or they just leave you alone and they're super grumpy and upset that you're in the store. Yeah. And finally,
I
Number
think I
7.
do get at clothing stores. The only time I do get into it when there's so many people that you like can't move. That's the only time I just get frustrated. I'm like, I don't. I just let's go because I don't want to be in there with that many people. But yeah, for the most part, I don't know. I don't have too much experiences, personal experiences, with like a lot of grumpy people in stores. Of course, there are grumpy people, but yeah, more so it's the friendliness that a lot of other people see as like fake friendly. But even if it's fake, I appreciate fake friendly. Like I walk into the store, hey, how are you doing? Can I help you with anything? Oh no, I'm good. Now, if you continue to, what bothers me is when they continue to like ask you and they continue to bother you, and it's like, if I say I'm good in the beginning, I'll let you know if I need help, but every time I'm looking, hey, you need help with that? Hey, you need me? Where you looking at? Hey, here are the prices. Here are the specials. Hey, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Let me look. Let me. If I want something, I'll tell you. That's what frustrates me. But fake friendly doesn't bother me as long as I don't know it's fake.
The supermarket prices in the U.S. Oh my god. I mean, this is again
Yeah,
one of those things
they're
that I had
ridiculous.
positive culture shock for, and then I went back and reverse culture shock. So culture shock again, totally crazy. Supermarket prices in the U.S. are insane. In the Netherlands,
Agreed.
everything is cheap. So I was so excited when I moved here. But when I went back, I remembered how not cheap it was. So to give you some examples of what I'm talking about here, I'm going to be generalizing, but this will give
Okay.
you an idea of how insane supermarket prices in the US are. They are Scandinavia prices. So in the Netherlands, you could buy a normal tub of yogurt for somewhere between 1 and 2 euros, maybe 3 if you're buying the really fancy kind. But a
Mm.
similar tub of yogurt in the US would be anywhere between 3 to 6 plus dollars. That's
It is
more
expensive
than
out
double.
here. I'll
I'm
tell you that.
really not kidding here. Another example, the cheese. One of the reasons why I moved to the Netherlands. It's not because I hated the US, it's because I love the cheese so darn much here in the Netherlands. And it's
It's a
actually
great reason.
affordable. So if you were to buy this, like a small thing of cheese, of any kind of cheese, like brie, whatever, it would be between 1 and 2 euros, maybe like two
Oh,
something. And of course, it can be a bit more expensive, but a cheese like that, like a thing of goat cheese or brie in the
oh,
U.S. would be like 4 or 5
yeah,
bucks, and then it's a good
yeah.
deal. I was used to
That's a
that. So
fact.
when I moved to the Netherlands, I thought, man, this is great. I could just buy all the cheese that I want, and I did, and I still do. And when I went back to the U.S., it's like, well, this is my no cheese holiday because I am not paying
I
$3.99 for this tiny log of goat cheese that I
I
don't
get
even
that.
think is that great.
I I get that.
Another example, I have to say this because Dutch people love their bread. So in the US, first of all, the bread sucks in comparison. Not the
I,
fresh bread from bakeries, of course, but in
yeah,
the supermarket, the bread sucks.
I
Now, you can get
understand
a
that.
loaf of bread in the Netherlands for like €1 to something. In the US, no. It starts at 2 something. If you want something halfway decent, you're going to be paying $4
Oh
for a
yeah,
very normal loaf of bread.
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. If you want some halfway decent, yeah, you're gonna have to pay a little bit. If you want the cheapest, yeah, I mean you can get a loaf of bread for like $1. You can get a loaf of bread for $1, but if you want something good, I like low calorie bread because I be trying to watch my calories, and so my bread costs me like $4 a loaf, maybe 5, but you can get the cheapest kind. It shouldn't be more than the cheapest kind. $1. It costs you about $1, maybe $1.50 most.
You want something that actually tastes great, then you're paying $5 to $6 for it. Like, I don't
Yeah, that's
understand
true.
why
That is
that is.
true.
So those were my 5 things that I really got so used to in the Netherlands because they are amazing and it's really easy to get used to awesome stuff. And those were the 5 things that I didn't think were so awesome back in the US. Now, if you guys have visited the US and you're Dutch or you're from a different place, why didn't you let me know in the comments what stood out to you when you visited America?
That was a great video, and I feel like she was spot on a lot of them. Even if I seem to disagree on some of them, I feel like from her experiences and where she's from, yeah, that's how it was. There's just some things I'm like, where I live, it's a little bit different. But so many videos. I'm sure that the Netherlands supermarket are definitely cheaper than the U.S. supermarket. U.S. supermarket prices are getting ridiculous. It's absolutely out of pocket. But that's all we have for the moment. If you guys agree, please don't forget to subscribe, get a video a thumbs up, and check out the next one. I'll see y'all next time.